If I could now hand you to the Mayor of Blue Mountains, he will address you and say a few words. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone. To those who can see me, hello. To those who can't, you're fortunate. I'm not that pretty. 5 weeks ago, I became the Mayor of the city, and I could not have thought then what we would be confronting now. Tonight, you're going to be addressed by members of the incident management team. They're not here from their individual agencies. They're here as the incident management team. There'll be a lot of questions that we'll ask as a community after these fires are over. All sorts of questions we will ask. But tonight's not the night for that. Tonight is the night for you to listen to what is happening. Tonight is the night for you to ask questions and get answers about what is happening. Tonight is about you getting information about what is happening out there. I'm not going to talk to you tonight about operational issues because I wouldn't know. As the Mayor and as a volunteer firefighter, what I do know is that we have an amazing community. And what I do know is that we confront perhaps one of the greatest challenges this community has ever faced. We've seen bushfires before. We've seen what damage a bushfire can do before. But I think the one we're looking at outside is a very significant one. 210 properties have been lost, 109 damaged, and we're not at the end of this. We're possibly about halfway through it, or even less. So it's really important that we listen, and that we absorb, and that we follow the instructions the people who are here tonight are going to give you. Because it's not some sort of power trip they're on. It's about protecting each and every one of us. That's what it's about. Lots of questions will come later, but right now it's about protecting people. 210 houses lost and not one life. Let's keep that record. Me, as a community leader, and there are councillors here tonight. Councillor Don McGregor, good mate of mine. Councillor Robert Stock is here tonight. Senator Doug Cameron, community leaders. They'll all join with me in what I'm about to say to you now, and it is this. We will get through this. Right? This is a strong and resilient community. We look after each other. We reach out to each other. And every time one of these horrible things happens, we just get closer together. So I promise you, when all of this is over, you'll look back and you will say, we did get through it. You're a magnificent community. I'm extremely proud to be your Mayor. Stay safe, listen to the messages tonight, and I will see each and every one of you later.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Inspector Rolf Poole from New South Wales Rural Fire Service, and I have a confession: I'm not a local. But I support locals with me to ensure that we get the local information. I too live in a bushfire-prone area. And I know the emotions that you're feeling right now. Excuse me. The information that we need to get to you tonight is that it really is a combined effort, not only with the multiple agencies that we have working, but also the community. And I know my colleague who works in this area, does my job, Paul McGrath. He's been talking to the community a long time before the fires hit. He was here the last time the fires hit, and so was I, and so were many of the members of our incident management team, so were many of the firefighters who were out in the field. They have seen this type of operation before, and we do know what needs to be done. We have seen this weather pattern before. Australia is a bushfire-prone country. The Blue Mountains is bushfire-prone. We know that, and we know the things that need to be done. So this is not a big surprise to us. The information that we have for you tonight is that basically the fire operations continue, and I'm going to defer to Neil from National Parks to give you a bit more of an overview as to what's happening with the actual fire and the backburning operations. But what we need you to take on board tonight is to ensure, without going into too much detail, is to know where you can get fire updates as things change, know what your own plan is should things eventuate, should situations change, and they are changing constantly. It's about providing you with the mechanisms to get that information. Now, we can print you off, we've managed to print off enough brochures for probably less than a quarter of the people here tonight. So we'll endeavour to get as many as we can up here. But as I speak, the information that we contain in our newsletters will change because fires change rapidly. We need the community to be on board and be prepared to implement your own bushfire survival plans at a moment's notice. And that means having a plan to either stay and defend or leave early. The information that is provided either through the Rural Fire Service website, the Fires Near Me applications for smartphones, information through emergency alerts and texting that goes to your home, bushfire information line. There are many ways of getting that information. We're not going to go into too much specific detail tonight other than to give you an overview and let you know where you can get updates. Otherwise, we will be here quite for some time. Basically, the situation over the last couple of days is that the Mount York fire, road fire, has crossed into the Darling Causeway and is into the Grosse Valley. There is the potential for that fire to spread further into the Grosse Valley and towards properties north of the Great Western Highway at Mount Victoria. Under the conditions that we've got at the moment, obviously you only have to look at your lawn and to see how dry it is to understand how dry the bush is. My apologies, I shall speak up. Thank you. So obviously conditions are very dry at the moment. You don't need to be a genius to work that out. Bushfires will spread rapidly under those conditions, so we can expect spotting well ahead of main fire fronts. The potential threat today and over coming days is going to be the communities of Mount Victoria, as I said, I'm not local, Canimbla Valley, Megalong Valley, Lawson Long Alley, Mount Boyce and Blackheath. The threat to the Great Western Highway at how do we pronounce that? Burkhopper's Path. I do apologise for not knowing. One thing is the noise user when somebody comes and pronounces it wrong. The threat has reduced due to successful backburning. We do have some more backburning planned for tonight, and I'll get Neil to talk about that information. Essentially, today was a good day as our operations officer described. Today we managed to really consolidate some of the containment lines around the fires and get some good backburning in and some good protection in. But the unfortunate thing is we've got some bad weather on the way. Wednesday is going to be a troublesome day for us because of the wind and the temperatures. At the moment we've got the high temperatures and the low humidity, but we don't have the wind. So we're using that opportunity, and overnight we're going to use that opportunity to do as much backburning under controlled conditions while we can. If we don't do that backburning operation, the fire will progress, and under the conditions on Wednesday, if we don't get the backburning in time, then we're going to have a very high intensity fire, and the potential for spotting kilometres ahead of the fire front is very, very real. So we have those really good, we have a plan team in the operations centre working on that strategy. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of firefighters out in the field from all agencies and from most states across Australia. So it really is a combined effort, and it is a combined effort with the community. We need you to have your home prepared. Now is not the time to be spending the heat of the day up on the roof cleaning the gutters. If you don't have that property prepared now, that's the type of thing that you need to be thinking, I need to have a leave early plan. And the leave early plan may well be 12 to 24 hours in advance. It doesn't mean you're evacuating. It doesn't mean we're forcing you to evacuate. It just means you need to have a sensible plan. If you have elderly, if you have children, if you're not mentally or physically fit to be standing in front of a hot fire, then you need to have a plan to leave early. People who stay and defend must have adequate preparation. The home must be prepared, the yard must be prepared, you must be prepared, the clothing, etc. All of the details for a bushfire survival plan you can obtain at another time. And if you don't have that information now, then you need to have a plan to leave early. When you're travelling through the area, obviously we're going to have a lot of emergency vehicles traversing through the area. Please be mindful that at times those vehicles will be responding to emergencies. Please obviously give way when you can. If you do come across an area that is affected by fire while you're travelling, please have a plan as well to turn around and have an alternate route. Part of your leave early plan must have an alternative if you can't get to where you're planning to go to. If you do happen to come into a fire affected area, trees can fall rapidly without notice. There are often damaged power lines, and driving through smoke is extremely hazardous. So if you do come across a fire affected area, don't drive in there, simply turn around and find a safer refuge. You are the locals, you know what the components of your local community are. You know your local ovals, your local schools. Have a place where you can go to if you need to. A nice open space where you can take refuge in an emergency. We're not deliberately trying to be alarmist and over the top. We're simply trying to ensure that you have a practical plan that you can implement at a moment's notice without panic. Panic is actually very rare in communities, and there is science to back this up. When it comes to emergencies, and particularly in Australia, there is a lot of science that backs up. Our communities rally together, we help each other, we talk to our neighbours, we check in on the people up the street to make sure we're all safe. Do that now. Talk to your neighbours, make sure you've all got a collaborative plan, talk to your local brigade about what they're doing, and ensure that you're part of that plan. I'm now going to hand over to Neil, and he'll give you a little bit more of an insight as to what's happening with those local names that I can't pronounce.
Good evening. I'm actually working in the planning section of the incident management team, but I've had a number of years' experience up here, ranging from the 94 fires right through to the 2003 fires. One thing I'll just remind you of is that we have had the incident in 94, where the fire started on the Bellsliner Road, not too far from the causeway, and within a couple of days it was impacting on Wimalee. With all our planning, we actually look at the worst case scenarios, and what we're telling you tonight is actually based on the worst case scenarios. Today, we had the fire going down into Victoria Creek. We've had helicopters working on it all day and crews on the ground trying to slow that fire to give us extra time to put all the planning in place and getting the resources on the ground to actually start more protection work tonight. We're planning for the fire to make a run at the moment. It mightn't make the run and it mightn't run as hard as we expect, but we do the planning for the worst case scenario. Tonight we have crews going out to the end of Hat Hill Road to Perry's Lookdown. The crews are going down the walking trail down to Blue Gum, and we've cut a hand tool line across to under Frank Hurley Headland, and we've dressed up the track from the headland to Mount Banks and back to Beltline Road. The plan tonight is actually to put a backburn in through that area, to burn to the west of the lines, to put fire back into the upper Grose as a block for any fire that does escape, if it does, from the Mount Victoria fire. We've also got fire to the northwest of us in the Lithgow area. The west of the Darwin Causeway near Bell has been burnt, and there's been backburns put in there as well to slow the fire. So we have multiple areas where we could get a breakout. We're planning for just the top end of the Grose at the moment. So you will see a lot of smoke in the air tonight and a lot of fire on the ground out in those areas. We will continue with the work tomorrow and deepen the lines, especially down in the Grose Valley, down in the valley, and that will either be done by ground crews or helicopters bombing it out with incendiaries. So again, tomorrow there will be a lot of activity and our aim is to try to consolidate that whole section prior to Wednesday's fire weather, where the afternoon's predicted to be very bad for us. So if you're thinking that you won't like to see a lot of smoke in the air, it is the time to start to plan whether you leave. Just on that point, at the moment we've got that plan in place, but we're actually doing all preparation for further down the mountains in case it does take the normal run down through the Growth. So all of the northern strategic line to the north of all the townships going down to Wimerlee and then up to the Growth Valley at the back of Yarramundi has been prepared, and we're working on the plans for implementation of that if the fire does make its run. But also we're doing all the planning and resourcing in case we have fire impacts on Blackheath. In case we have fire impacts on Blackheath, we have extra resources up here, and along the Great Western Highway at the Fire Brigade at Blackheath, you will see a number of tanker units and pumpers from New South Wales Fire and Rescue already staged up here in preparation if we do get the worst case scenario.
I'm now going to have Katrina from the local brigade come and give the local perspective as well.
Hi everyone, this is my first time up here, so I'm pretty nervous. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I'd like to just, on behalf of Larry Howard, who is the captain of Blackheath Mount Victoria Brigade, give his apologies. Unfortunately, he is currently in hospital, so I am acting captain on his behalf. Now, yesterday I spoke to a lot of our locals down in Godson Avenue, down at Pulpit Rock. We chatted a lot about what the plan is over the next few days. I know a lot of you are very nervous about what's happening. As Neil has already mentioned to you, and most of you will also know Mina Howard. She'll come up in a moment and have a chat to you. But she's done a lot of great work in Blackheath in putting into place the HUF program, which I know has helped a lot of our... sorry, I've lost my train of thought. But basically, she's put this HUF program in place with coordinators in certain streets so that we know exactly whether or not there are people in those streets who are unable to get out, if you've got a disability or you're elderly. So there's a coordinator in those streets to help liaise with Mina if the time comes to do that. Sure, sorry. Okay, I'd also like to thank Neil and Matt Smith for all the great work they've done today and for all their briefings that they've given me. It's been fantastic. The RFS has been working really hard and coordinating with National Parks to try and get this burn in. I know a lot of you have been wondering, there's been a lot of talk on the news about when it's going to happen. So as has been mentioned tonight, that will happen. I've spent most of today and yesterday doing that black line, that strategic line, all the way from Victoria Falls down to Pulpit Rock. A grader has been all the way through there. That line is great to work off. We've got about 25 appliances coming in to work that area. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get that burn in, and essentially it should protect Blackheath, provided if you're going far enough. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to Mina. A little bit later when it comes question time, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. But Mina will talk a little bit about her HUF program, and I'll hand over to Mina.
Thanks everyone. I'm sure you don't know what HUF is, but it stands for Heads Up for Fire. And in Blackheath we have 15 HUF coordinators. I can see one up there. And it's very simple. It's just somebody in your street who is prepared to keep an eye out and give a heads up for anyone in the street who might be vulnerable. So elderly people, even young people with, young children, etc. But there are a lot of people who don't have the internet who really don't know what's going on. So all it is just keeping your eye out for your neighbours, even if you don't know them. go and knock on their door. You might make a new best friend. So we've actually just won a Resilient Australia Award for that program too. So it's just very simple, it's self-sustaining, doesn't require anything from us once you have volunteered to do that. You can get information. At the moment the command centre's at Mount Vic. We don't know whether they're going to make Blackheath Brigade the new command post, but does everybody know where those two brigades, one's next to Mount Vic, that's Mount Vic, and Blackheath's next to, down from Mitre 10. So you can go to either one of those and get any information. I just wanted to mention, I live in the street in Mount Victoria that was impacted on Thursday, where 7 houses were razed to the ground. Now, in that street, there were about, 15 appliances. New South Wales Fire Brigade and RFS. They were not able to save those houses. The fire came so quickly. I was there, I came home from school, because I heard that there was a fire. Within an hour, I'd been evacuated, and within another hour, the damage was done. I was fortunate to have my house, but I lost 2 cars and my caravan and all my fencing and my garden. I'm just letting you know that just because there are trucks around, they still sometimes can't. It just came too fast, so don't always rely on a truck. The other thing is, embers can travel up to 15 to 20 k's ahead of the fire. So you've got to be always, even if you're away from the fire, be vigilant. Get your ladder into your manhole, keep looking up into the roof, because the embers can lodge in there and smoulder away for days. So even after the fire's gone, a lot of houses actually burn down after the fire has gone through. So just be vigilant, even if you don't think you're going to be impacted or anywhere near the impact area, if there is one, hopefully there won't be. But just keep an eye out for those embers, they're very deadly. It's about 70 to 80% of houses burn down from ember attack, not direct attack. So look after each other and go Blackheath.